Now, Pavarotti was a good friend.
Hello, and welcome to The Revealing. I'm your host, Pavarotti, and I'm here to discuss the Idaho 4 case. As a disclaimer, this channel is for entertainment purposes. These are my opinions, not here to slander anyone, so let's get into it. In today's episode, I'm starting another series. And I feel like I have to do it this way because the information that I have to get across in the how did they get to Bryan Kohberger scenario, I feel is very important for me to not just say, here's what I think how they got to Kohberger. I need for you to understand why I feel that this information is valid. And once I was able to put all the pieces together that I can at this point, it's led me to this is the only conclusion that is possible at this point. So, no, I do not believe Bryan Kohberger is the guilty party. And as I go through this 5-part series, that's right, it's going to take 5 parts. But as I go through this 5-part series, I think you're going to clearly understand how Kohberger could not have been the one to commit the atrocity, and you're going to understand why Kohberger is sitting in this courtroom, and you're going to understand more of the case against him, and it's going to fill in all those blanks that all of my videos have left wide open. Number 1, who are these secret witnesses that the prosecution has in reserve? How could they possibly have pointed the finger at Bryan Kohberger? These questions I will answer in this 5-part series, and I believe I will answer them to your satisfaction. But to do that, we've got to start with the first part, the part that I keep going back to because it is a critical part in all of the scenarios involved in the Bryan Kohberger case, and that is the dadgum Doordash driver. Now, we've uncovered a lot of information about this Doordash driver, but I think there's one part that we have not unraveled, we have not unveiled, we haven't gone deep enough into, and that's some of the actual facts surrounding this Doordash driver and Xana. Now, when we talk about Xana, first of all, let's do this. Let me dispel those rumors about Xana is from Arizona.
Xana Kernodle was raised in Idaho, but she spent time here in the valley since her dad moved to Avondale a few years ago. He describes her as fun, smart, and strong-willed, and says it's impossible to imagine she was killed in the worst homicide police say they've ever seen in this small Idaho city.
Now, after scouring my way through hours and hours of news reports and clippings, I came across some interviews, of course, that they interviewed Xana's dad. And a couple of things that he mentioned as he was praising Xana kind of raised my eyebrows just a hair. And it made me think maybe Xana dabbled in illicit substances from time to time. Could it be possible?
Her and Ethan were together about a year, give or take some, whatever. But she really, when I went up there, I saw her just a week before that. She changed a lot. She turned around and was being really responsible, helping him out.
Then when I heard him say that, it reminded me of those old Steve G texts and what one of them said. Xana was into party drugs like Molly, but nothing serious that would lead to something like this. Well, I agree, probably nothing serious that would lead to something like this, but does that still mean that Xana may have contacted her source that night, maybe for some of those party drugs, and placed an order? And here's why I think that. Because when we look at that probable cause affidavit, one thing is for sure. Everything as it relates to the facts of the case is very important. The things that relate to all of the opinions on the case, those are irrelevant. But the things that relate to the facts of the case are very important in the way it is worded. But what is equally important is what it does not say. Let me show you. Okay, so this is the part of the PCA where it says, this is with the exception of Kernodle, who received a DoorDash order at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. And then in parentheses, law enforcement identified the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information. Now we know this is important because just above that, it says that law enforcement identified the rideshare driver as Eric Glauer, and when it talks about the DoorDash driver, it doesn't identify anybody. And it also says that Kernodle received the DoorDash order. It doesn't say anything about Kernodle placing the DoorDash order. The person who told law enforcement about the DoorDash order is none other than the DoorDasher themselves. And we know that by what the PCA does not say. You see, it says a review of records obtained from a forensic download of Kernodle's phone showed this could have also been Kernodle, as her cellular phone indicated she was likely awake and using the TikTok app at approximately 4:12 a.m. So it doesn't say anything about her ordering DoorDash during the forensic download of her phone. In fact, it doesn't mention the DoorDash delivery at all when it says she's likely still awake at 4:12 on TikTok. Why wouldn't it say she's likely still awake at 4:12 eating her DoorDash order and on TikTok? What it doesn't say tells us as much as it does say. And why this is very important is because of the dates of the actual DoorDash warrants that are issued later on. The fact that law enforcement didn't issue the DoorDash warrant until December the 6th, and the information that they requested in the DoorDash warrant tells us everything we need to know. That Xana didn't place that DoorDash order through DoorDash like the PCA really doesn't even suggest. The PCA doesn't suggest anything, but like we all would figure that she did. No, the information that was asked for in the DoorDash warrant is very, very telling of the entire DoorDash situation. And then there was always this still photograph shown from that 1112 camera, and I always assumed that from this camera they would be able to see the DoorDash delivery driver pull up to the house and deliver the DoorDash clearly. But as I examined this closer, I guess I never realized the fact that that's not even the King Road house that's shown in this footage. So when you compare the King Road house to the house that's lighted up right there, you can see that it's two completely different houses. So I'm having a hard time even trying to figure out which angle this 1112 King Road camera is facing. And I'm going to have to really dig in to figure out, what could you have even really seen from this camera view? Nothing, I guess, but certainly not the DoorDash driver. So they didn't figure it out this way for sure. So we know they didn't file the warrant for DoorDash until you can see right here, December the 6th, which is 23 days after the atrocity. And they got the information back on December the 7th. That means that something prompted them finally to file this DoorDash warrant, because apparently as easy to file this warrant was just, we suspect there was a DoorDash delivery delivered and they wanted the information. So something happened before December 6th that told them they needed to check into the DoorDash situation and find the DoorDash driver. So I wonder what that was, because Here's what they asked for in the warrant. Not for the DoorDash delivery the night of the atrocity, but for the DoorDash delivery from January 1st until the present day, which included December the 6th, date and time of sales, deliveries, purchasers and transactions, the names of the drivers, descriptions of the vehicles the drivers were driving. Folks, they were actively searching for a DoorDash driver who had made deliveries to the home on previous occasions so that they could try to identify them, find them, and then get their statement. They knew nothing about this DoorDash driver before they filed this warrant and before somebody told them to go find the DoorDash driver. I mean, it's obvious. Who is the DoorDash driver?
Employee inside here told me the DoorDash driver that picked up the food for Xana was a woman. It was a woman with black hair. And the employee told me that the woman, after the tragedy happened, she stopped doing DoorDash because she was traumatized. Though it is believed, the employee said that she has restarted doing DoorDash again, but she was traumatized after the incident. The employee stated to
Now, was she really traumatized, JLR, or was she in hiding? Because she knows that she wasn't delivering a legitimate DoorDash order that evening, and explaining what she was really doing would have been a challenging thing for her to do and not get in trouble. So, what was she really doing? Was she actually delivering Jack in the Box, or was she using Jack in the Box and DoorDash as a cover to make deliveries of another kind?
And I'm just saying, this is her ditching the drugs, y'all. Go back and watch the body camera. She's messing with it the whole time. And this is her getting it and dropping it underneath the desk. Do you think she was charged with this? Do you think they even noticed, is my question.
Now, when I look at that possible map of the travels of the DoorDash driver the night of the atrocity, and I overlap them with what the PCA says that the Hyundai Elantra in Washington State and its movements are, it starts to tell a story. So you can see at the top up there, the Jack in the Box, the DoorDash driver, if she comes out and comes south all the way down to Stadium Way, and you'll see that at 2:44 on November 13th, the white Elantra is seen heading north on Southeast Nevada Street, and there's a few minute time lapse before he comes back south on Northeast Nevada Street at 2:53. Well, those two movements overlap with the possible movements of the DoorDash driver. So could that have been a possible stop and talk with Bryan Kohberger and Emma Bailey, and Kohberger placing his order for the evening, and then Emma Bailey moving on to do the rest of her business, heading for the King Road residence at 4 a.m. exactly? That would explain this then. As I make this 5-part series, I realize that one of these episodes on their own will not answer all the questions that you have. All it will do is it'll make you think about this one scenario. And as I add parts 2, 3, 4, and 5, then this scenario will make even more sense to you, I assure you. And I've been thinking for a while how to unveil all this in the right way, and this is the best way that I can come up with. So, the synopsis of this is, I believe that Emma Bailey was using Doordash as a cover to deliver her illicit substances. I mean, she has a track record of dealing. This is a way that a rather smart dealer would operate, because they could explain if they're pulled over what they're doing out at all hours of the night, making a DoorDash delivery, make it look as innocent as possible. So with that thought in mind, if she was ordered by Xana to be at the King Road residence at 4 a.m. with her DoorDash delivery, that would certainly explain why she's still awake. And there's been many rumors about Xana's father saying that her and Ethan, were eating pizza at midnight. I haven't been able to find that clip, so I didn't inject that into this scenario. But if that is true and they were eating pizza at midnight and everybody wondered why they would be hungry again at 4 a.m. for Jack in the Box, well, it would certainly explain that as well. But please like and subscribe to the channel. Post your comments, your thoughts, and your criticisms. And until next episode, Pavarotti's out.